This tutorial describes how to use the Texture Pane in Pena. The Texture Pane is located right next to the Effects Program Pane on the main control panel. You can also get to the Texture Pane from within the Program Pane. This is a convenience icon because very often you want to set up textures while this pane is displayed. It doesn't matter which you use to access the Texture Pane. Tap on the Texture Pane icon to display it, tap the icon again to take it away, or tap on the icon and any other icon to take it away, or the icon and tap on the move arrows to take it away. The Texture Pane consists of 5 places that you can load textures into. You can have up to 5 simultaneous textures to use while painting. There are 2 types of textures that Pena utilizes. The first one is a photo from your photo album, and the second one is a noise texture. To put a photo from your photo album into a texture slot, simply tap on the photo icon, select which album you want, and pick a texture. If the texture is larger than 4 million pixels, you'll get prompted like this to have the texture resized, in which case it'll resize it to be as big as possible but still fit within the limits of the program. If the texture is smaller than that, it'll just automatically load. You could change the texture by tapping it again, picking a different texture. We can load another texture, doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be consecutive or sequential. Textures can be loaded into any of the slots. To clear a texture out, simply tap on the picture, and there's the choice to clear the photo. You may want to do that if you're running out of memory, getting memory warning errors. Some textures being very large can take quite a bit of the iPad's memory. Noise textures are accessed by tapping the noise icon. You'll generate an immediate noise pattern. Tap it again and you'll get a pop-up which allows you to modify parameters. For example, we could say that the noise should be 10 by 10 as opposed to the entire screen, and it should be color. And now we'll see that we get a very colorful texture in there that's randomly generated. To generate a different texture, we can just simply tap on that texture and have it generate a totally different texture with those same parameters. This icon over here allows you to take any of these textures and immediately put it onto your canvas. This is a very useful feature for quickly taking a texture and putting it to the canvas. We'll copy texture 3, and that immediately goes onto our canvas. Copy texture 2, immediately it goes onto the canvas. Texture 3 again, onto the canvas. Many effects utilize textures. For example, the texture effect allows us to paint with that texture. Here we are painting with texture number 1, which is a magnolia flower. We can open up the texture options and switch to texture 3. Now we're painting with the Arches National Park photo. We go back and pick textures 2. And we're now painting with the random colored texture. These can also be set to fit the brush. For example, if I turn on Fit to Brush, now our random color texture is the entire texture fit to our brush's shape. Likewise, I can go back to one of the other photos. And again, here we're painting with the entire Arches photo fit to our brush. You can also go the opposite direction. We'll open up our texture pane, and by using the top arrow, I can say take our current canvas and copy it to a texture. So here we've taken our current canvas and copied it into texture 4, and we can now use that as a new texture to paint with. Turning on airbrush and texturing allows us to apply that airbrush effect to the texture as we paint. Let's clear our screen. You can see a much smoother version because of the airbrush effect. There's a number of texture options under the effects pane. They're all under color sources. The first one was texture, and we'll flood our screen with it, and that just places the texture onto the screen. Texture blur, do a similar thing, but it will make it blurry. Texture edge detect will produce an edge detection of the texture. Texture emboss will do a paper embossed effect. And all of these have parameters to change how the effect looks. Texture oil will produce an oil painting effect. And we're running this in the simulator, so this is very slow. On the iPad, it's very, very quick, almost instantaneous. But because it's the simulator, it's about 10 times slower. Let's wait for the oil paint effect. And again, this can be adjusted into how much oil. If you look closely, you can see that it has been pixelated and appears to be an oil style pixelation. Here is a true pixelate effect, where we're de-resolutionizing the image, and again, the size of the squares and everything can be fully adjusted. Texture rippling, produce a water-like effect in our texture. And if we look at options for texture rippling, we can see we can set how many ripples, the center, the height of the ripple, fit it to the brush. All of these things are possible. And texture rotate allows us to take the texture and rotate it 45 degrees in this case. And texture twist allows us to apply a twist to the texture. And again, we can specify the amount of the twist, directions, and all sorts of things. And that completes our texture tutorial.